Hello, my name is John Wadsworth, I'm an astrologer, and this is my video blog for Friday the 19th of November 2010. We're 2 days away from a full moon. This is a full moon that occurs in the final degree of Taurus, with the Sun in the final degree of Scorpio. It's what we call the Anaretic degree, the last degree of the sign. And whenever a major astrological event occurs like a full moon in the Anaretic degree, there's a sense of urgency, because we've reached the end of the cycle, the end of the Sun's passage through Scorpio, the end of the Moon's passage through Taurus, and there's a sense that we kind of have to tie up all the affairs of those signs. And we sort of pick this up intuitively, and it may be something we may need to watch for over this full moon is not to act too impulsively, not to do something as a sort of knee-jerk reaction, because we feel that we have to tie everything up. It's always something to be aware of whenever we have a situation of a planet in our birth chart as well. This can happen if you have a planet natally in the last degree of a sign. You feel always that you have to tie things up. So this is a time of heightened awareness in the month, the full moon, and so carrying that awareness, being aware of how we have addressed the Scorpio cycle of the year, and to release it, to let go, and to allow the new sign of Sagittarius to begin to permeate our awareness. Because, of course, by Monday, the Sun is into Sagittarius, the Moon's into Gemini for 2.5 days, but the Sun begins its 30-day cycle through Sagittarius. And this is something we'll be honouring this in this next cycle on the Alchemical Journey, which is the 12-month programme that I run with Anthony Thorley in Glastonbury. And we work with the zodiac as a kind of mystery tradition, as an initiatory journey, where we look to understand our lives and to make sense of our lives through the perspective of the turning wheel of the zodiac. So each month we will explore our lives through the perspective of the sign of the zodiac that the Sun is in that month. So earlier this month we worked with the Scorpio energy. We looked at our relationship to death, our sexuality, our shadow nature, and we allowed and honoured and validated and recognised that we all carry a shadow, and we allowed that shadow some expression during that weekend. Very powerful, very challenging part of the journey, Scorpio, but one that we see reflected around us in nature. You know, as the leaves fall from the trees, as summer comes to an end, autumn is upon us, and those dead leaves begin to rot down into the ground. The seed of life is sown under the ground, and the nights draw in, of course, in the northern hemisphere, and we and as if a sort of shadow cloak is being drawn around us. As we move into Sagittarius, that energy changes. Yes, the nights continue to draw in, and it continues to get darker up to the winter solstice. But something changes, the focus in nature changes. It's almost as if the yin energy, the female energy, the dark material energy in life has become saturated in Scorpio. And out of that saturation, a new fiery light, a new yang force begins to be reconceived. And that's really what happens in the sign of Sagittarius. This is reflected in the Taiji wheel and the Chinese wheel. They recognise this time of year as a time of saturated yin energy. And then out of that, you see this in the yin-yang symbol, out of that comes the birth of the yang again. That's why you see the dot, the white dot, in the black half of the yin-yang symbol, and likewise on the other side. So this really represents that time. And in the life cycle, many astrologers work with the idea that Scorpio represents the end of life, the point of death, and then in a reincarnational cycle, Sagittarius is then the beginning is the point of conception, the reconceiving of life, the beginning of the gestation cycle that carries us through the next 4 signs through to Pisces, and then life begins again through the process of birth in Aries in the spring. So again, this idea that life is being reconceived. We also see it in the Christian calendar in the season of Advent, the anticipation of the Christ child being born at the winter solstice, of course. But this period, this run-up, this sense of anticipation, this is the time of the three wise men, the three wise astrologers, who follow a star in the east to that fabled manger in Bethlehem. Inspired to look beyond for meaning, inspired that a new dawn will come. And this is really carried by Sagittarians. We see it in the Sagittarian nature, that optimistic, far-seeing impulse to look beyond our present situation to a new horizon. Sagittarians will look up to the stars, up to the sky for inspiration. So it's a sign very much associated with astrology. It's also a sign represented in the sky by the centaur Chiron, the famous mentor and wounded healer of Greek mythology. Half man, half horse, a misfit, half the animal part of him representing instinct, the human half representing intellect, perhaps, and that join, that tension between the two is something that's really felt very strongly in the sign of Sagittarius. Some Sagittarians will express that very much through living a very active life, maybe through sport or some very active pursuit. Sagittarius ruling the hips and the thighs, those very active parts of the body from which our momentum comes. Sagittarius is very much a sign of momentum and movement. But also Sagittarians, of course, will become philosophers. They'll become interested in religion, in understanding the bigger questions of life. A pursuit for God, a pursuit for meaning in the cosmos. And Sagittarians have an ability to make connections, to perceive meaning, and to see connections between things that maybe in our culture we've forgotten are connected. Sagittarius is the sign that is prepared to accept and embrace the possibility that there are big, meaningful correspondences between things. So the as above, so below, as in heaven, so on earth. That sort of connection is something that a Sagittarian may be able to embrace. And the Sagittarian part in all of us can embrace that. So what we do during our alchemical journey weekend this month is we'll be exploring our relationship to God, our relationship to those bigger questions of life, what we, the way that we make meaning. We'll also be exploring that sense of possibility, how we are, our great aspirations and projects and plans, and we'll be opening that space for possibility, for us to really see what's out there for us, and really allow our imagination to be let free, to run wild. It's a time where we run wild with our imaginings in Sagittarius. It happens in Glastonbury on the 11th and 12th of December. That's Saturday, Sunday, 11th and 12th of December. And during the weekend we'll be working with music and movement and theatre games and all sorts of guided imagery, working with the myths and stories. On the Sunday we'll be walking in the Glastonbury zodiac, in the Sagittarius figure of the Glastonbury zodiac, the map of which you can see here behind me. And so, yeah, this is really a time to be inspired. It's the advent of our new the new possibility for our lives. As we move into the new year, afresh with a great sense of what we can achieve and what we can do to make a difference in the world as well. You can find details on our website, which is www.thealchemicaljourney.co.uk. And you can also find details about my astrological work at www.kairosastrology.co.uk.